Hello everybody. Thought I would put out another painting video. It's been a while, and of course I'm home like a lot of other people that were out of work due to the coronavirus. So I've been doing a little bit of painting and a little bit of pottery, some yard work. But anyway, I thought I would do this video a little bit different. I could do like, high-speed painting and all that, but I think with this video I'm going to talk really just about my process and kind of take you along the journey of, of the painting without actually doing the painting on video. This is an image that my wife took while we were in Tombstone, Arizona. A lot of actors there, in costume. People take a lot of photos of them. So I felt it would be okay to use this image in a painting. Now the guy with the black hat to your left, I painted him once before, and this guy I've kind of been holding out on, but I wanted to do him in a way that resembles one of my favorite painters, which is Richard Schmid. Richard Schmid just has a wonderful way of dealing with movement and edges, lost and found. So here's just kind of the rough drawing. Now, a lot of times, if I'm not doing a portrait of someone that looks, just exactly like the person, then a lot of times I'll start out with just a simple charcoal bit of lines, just to kind of, let me know that everything's going to fit on the canvas just fine. I'll be doing, of course, a lot of adjustments, with the drawing as I paint. But this is just kind of a rough start, and oftentimes I'll do that. One of the things I want to do with this is, I'll get to Richard Schmid here. Let's see. Now, this is a Richard Schmid painting that is in a book that I have. It's Alla Prima. Wonderful book. It's been a big influence on me throughout the years of painting, but I really like the way he handles a lot of the edges, and the strokes seem very deliberate, like they're there once on purpose, the right color, the right value, and I love that. I just love that. I love the way he's handled the edges in the hair and the beard, and just that little bit of reflection in the glasses. It's a wonderful painting. You can find it online if you look up Richard Schmid. But I want to kind of do this technique and this kind of brush stroke and movement with this guy. So I'm going to get started. I'll get some work done on it, and then I'll stop and tell you what my thinking is. But I was going to mention too, we're all influenced in some way or another. No matter who you are or what you paint, you're probably influenced by someone. It's kind of like if you move to England or something and you're from the United States, for many people it won't be long before you start picking up the accent. And that's kind of what I think happens with painting is, if you admire an artist, you don't really necessarily copy them unless you're doing a master's study. But you do pick up their accent. You do pick up a lot of their techniques. So, originality is still there, but your influence can be, kind of bred into you through the type of art that you love and that moves you. You're going to be influenced by other artists. And I think that's wonderful. I don't know if there's really anything left to do original. I'm sure there is, but I think that what we all are doing is we're expressing ourselves in our own unique way with a language that we've learned from other people. So I'm going to get started on this. I'll come back to the video when I've gotten some work done, and we'll talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Okay, back again. After doing a little bit of work to this painting, I thought I would come back and talk about my mindset. Now, this is probably not the way Richard Schmid would execute a painting, but what I'm trying to do is keep my strokes
deliberate, loose, with very little edges to define much. Basically getting in little tones of color, being very careful not to use the same color everywhere. And that's a temptation when you paint. You often will try to mix up some paint and like, I got all this paint and where else can I use it? That's okay to some degree, but if you get to doing that too much, then you end up with basically one tone that covers too much of the painting. A painting, I think, is more interesting if you've got a lot of different tones going on, warms and cools, lights and darks. And there too, as I'm working, I'm trying to maintain the proper value structure that is significant to the painting. Now, I could paint this painting in the same key of lights and darks, if you will, of the picture, but as long as my painting, the lights and darks work with each other in whatever key, I can make it a whole lot lighter with my darkest dark being, you know, a very light color, and then my lightest light being almost white. Or you could go the other way and make your darkest dark like black and then go from there. But what I like to do often is use a fairly intense color in the beginning, and then kind of as I'm working it kind of blends and mutes down. And that's another thing too. I try not to blend too much as I'm working. I try to just get the color on the canvas in the right color right at the first. This is really what is called alla prima. But I'm trying to be very deliberate on where I put the paint and what color it is, what value it is, how warm it is, how cool it is. So I'll come back in a little bit as I work on a little bit more. Not sure what I really want to do with this background yet. I'm afraid I might be stuck with it. I'm not real happy with it, but anyways, I'll come back later and show you as I progress. Okay, just a quick video. All right, see you in a little bit. Okay, so day 2, I'm gonna say probably about 3 hours into this painting. And you know, I'm not Richard Schmid. I love his work, and I've learned a lot from his language, and others too. But you know, you really have to be true to yourself. And sometimes that means following your instincts and your intuitions. I've been painting for the better part of 30 years, and I'm not an expert at it, but I enjoy it, and I get a kick out of making a painting feel like something. Look like something doesn't matter to me. Feel like something is what matters to me. But anyway, just like I said, didn't want to really do like a video of me actually painting. There's a lot of people doing that, and I've done it too, but this particular painting, I just wanted to kind of talk about what I'm thinking and what my ideas are as I'm painting. So this particular painting, I think, is finally starting to take a little shape. It's labored over a little more than I'd like. I wish I could just throw a brush stroke down and leave it, but I just can't seem to do that. One of the things I really struggle with, and maybe you do too, is value. I often will look into the shadow of an area, like here, right? And I start seeing all the lights in the shadow. So then my shadow area becomes too light. You know, it's really hard sometimes for me to stay focused on the masses of light and shadow. Because I get into all this interesting stuff in the shadow. And then as I do, then I accentuate that and bring it out. And then before I know it, I no longer have a shadow or a darker area. Okay. So that's what I struggle with a lot in my painting. I don't know about you, but that's what I struggle with a lot. One other thing that I try to do to keep an interest in the painting, so it's interesting in color and shape and brushstroke, is I really try hard not to overuse one color. If I do a brush stroke with a color, I try not to drag it, all over the place. I like to try to make that stroke kind of short, see how it looks, and move on to my next mixture. But anyway, here we go. Gonna start painting again. I think I'm gonna try to go ahead and get rid of all the white of the canvas. I didn't tone this canvas on purpose, but I'm going to go ahead and work on this area, I think, and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm gonna say maybe 4 or 5 hours off and on into this painting. As I mentioned before, I was really shooting for kind of an effect like one of my favorite painters, which is Richard Schmid, but it really didn't go that way. But I have other influences too. As a matter of fact, one of my other favorite painters is Nikolai Fechin. He does a lot of, or did a lot of work with very broad, thick, short strokes of paint. So we're all influenced by different artists, and I'm not unhappy with this painting. I think it came out okay. I didn't really care if it looked exactly like my model because it's not a portrait per se. It was just a painting of an old dude with a cowboy hat, which I've painted quite a few of these old guys. And I like the Old West, I guess. I live in the Old West, so I paint a lot of these old cowboys, these old cowboy-looking guys. But anyway, I just wanted to share kind of my process and my thoughts mostly as I paint, and talk a little bit about how we're all kind of influenced by different people. Like I said, some of my favorite painters have been, very loose, not real refined. I want to see brush strokes. I like to see brush strokes. I like to see a painting. I enjoy paintings that leave a little bit for the viewer to finish, like this scarf down here. You can see his scarf is, very detailed, and then they've got this bullets and all that. But to me, I wanted to just suggest these things. I didn't want to go in there and paint every single fold, every single thing. I wanted the viewer to be able to kind of fill that in themselves. I really enjoyed painting the beard. It was, there's a lot of different layers of color. I tried to be very careful not to overuse any one particular color or overuse any one particular value. I wanted the values to be very broken, lots of cool and warm tones. But, I can go on, but like I said, I just wanted to share with you kind of my process on what I'm thinking while I paint. I always set off with a goal, and of course it never goes quite that way, but there was a point in the painting where I felt like I was in trouble, where it was looking very bland, very worked over. But sometimes you got to just keep going at it and make it happen, do something with it, and that's a great time to take risks. When you feel like a painting is failing, then throw all caution to the wind and take some risks, some risk with thought. Don't just start slapping paint on there, but take some risks that you might not normally take if you were doing a commission painting or a portrait. But anyway, just my thoughts. This is spending time during the coronavirus lockdown. I hope all of you are well. See you next video.